Morning, good morning. Got my tweet real quick. That is done. I think everything is working correctly this morning. Again, apologies in advance if I end up going into a coughing fit. Started off roughly last week and it kind of smoothed out, and we were able to get through a couple of hours of streaming without too much trouble, but you never know. Coughing fits kind of land whenever they feel like landing. I don't really have too much control over it other than just hoping that I don't strain um, my voice and stuff too much with all the talking I'm likely to do. Few things to mention before we get started. There is maintenance today, as usual. I think they said something about 15 minutes, so it's not a long one, which is good for those of you that don't want to miss out too much playtime. Also, there is the residential renovation housing event currently ongoing. I think there's a couple of days left, maybe. It goes to the 25th. So if you haven't had an opportunity to work on this month's um, renovation quests, collect some of the currency and stuff, you still have a few days to get into that. I believe this month's rewards are related to the Elden goodies and the Exolab stuff. I'm not sure what all that entails. I've never really been much into the Exo slash Elden stuff. I think it's like the green and gold decor. As well, they've already listed out June's events, and the renovation event for that month will be the third week of June. I don't know the dates in particular, I just know it's the third week. And those will cover the Osun, Taurine, and Protostar decor goodies. I think that includes like the uh, stone door, I think. I can't remember exactly what. I think it's like the dais and I think it's the Protostar platform and a couple other things. So just thought I'd mention those as well. Next month, the entire month of June is considered to be the Starfall Event. If you haven't participated in that event before, it is very recommended that you work on dealing with the achievement that is associated with that. I'm not sure if let me see if I can pull that up just to Starfall. Yeah, if you get the Got 'em All achievement completed, it's where you have to acquire a bunch of the different kinds of fireworks and stuff. The pet. I think there's a decor piece, the cupcake and such, the sky remodel, etc. If you collect all of those and mark it as completed, it will unlock the Starfall firework decor um, for you permanently. You'll have access to those bits from then on. Um, if I can pull up an example of what that includes, I'll just I don't know if this not coming up. Probably because I spelled it wrong. There we go. It includes the crate of fireworks and all the little individual goodies. My favorite is this one. We use that for a lot of little details, including I've made bridges out of it. We use it for pepperoni on pizzas and all sorts of other things. There's ones that have the sticks, the bottle rocket like type of stuff. There's the empty crate and the empty crate lid. to go along with it. There's just an assortment of different ones. There's even some that look like a little bit of trash. Um, it's almost a must have for those that are into the decorating. These are some fabulous colors, interesting shapes. They work well for small details, but also large ones as well. I've seen some use these cone parts as like roofs for houses and such, for like full buildings and everything. So definitely do yourself a favor and unlock that if you get the chance. Haven't before. Also, there are supposed to be some new rewards. They mentioned that, or at least that's what I heard on the grapevine. The chromium decor, these goodies here, shiny metal looking bits. There's a variety of them. I don't know if we get one of each in the pack. Apparently, it's a login reward for the first week of June. So if you haven't been playing pretty regularly, you might want to do yourself a favor and at least log in once for every week of June, because there's some different goodie packs that you get. And the first week will result in some of these chromium goodies, from what I understand. So again, I don't know if it's just one each, if it's several of different ones, which ones is included, if some will be available in other ways. I have no idea, but there are some awesome looking pieces. I know a lot of people are going to go crazy over them. This one looks like it'd be great for like an entranceway, doorway kind of thing. These would be great for landscaping. For those that do the deserty pillars, you could color shift it to a brown or such and have it look like those like Thousand Needles from WoW and everything. Yeah, Bones. There's an announcement in the official forums. I think it's in the general discussion section. They have a pinned topic that covers all of the events that are coming up for the next month, which includes, I think there's one to do with, heck, let me just pull it up. If you hear some meowing, that's one of my cats. They've been kind of weirded out this morning, so let me just pull up the thingamabob here. Yeah, it's called the Starcom Station Wire. It's something they post up every month. Sometimes it's right at the first of the month. This one they got a little bit of a head start. But for the Starfall anniversary event, the first week, the login gift is the Starfall Chromium Decor Pack. The second one is the Insta Party Pack. For the third week, it's the Starfall Goodie Bag. And for the fourth week, it's the Starfall Party on the Go Pack. I have no idea what the other packs entail. I imagine some of them include toys and whatnot. Maybe some like possibly flares for your mounts, that kind of thing. I absolutely have no idea on that. But just make sure that you log in for each week and you'll be ensured to get those goodies. There's other events going on. There's the Glory event. There's a double XP explosion coming up. Of course, there's also the residential renovation I mentioned earlier, and then Essence, Blessing of Essence event. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of different things going on, but the Starfall one is probably the biggest. And like I said, if you haven't unlocked that achievement yet to get those firework goodies, the decor unlocked in your housing vendor, this is a great opportunity to do that. It's a month-long event, so I would assume you have the entire month to work on it. And I think it's one of those things where you don't actually have to loot all of those items. I think you can actually trade with other people, and just as long as you have acquired it in some form or fashion, if I remember rightly, because I'm pretty sure I got like the pet and stuff off of the auction house not last time, but the first time the event came around to unlock it from my main on Jabbit. So I think that's how it works. I will remind though, if for whatever reason you're unable to do that to get it completed or whatever, there is a way of getting those decor outside of having completed the achievement. If you know of a friend that has actually unlocked it, you can have them become a roommate, and they can purchase those items for you until you get a chance to complete it the next time around. But right now is like the ideal time to get in on that for unlocking it for yourself. Okay, let's see. Anything else? I think that's it. Um, so yeah, let's just let me close that off. So this week we are on entity side, NA. Um, and I know I've been kind of keeping it to individual plots. It's just in the effort of trying to kind of keep it minimal talkie time for me. Usually if we do a community plot, it usually takes me a minimum of 2 days to cover it. Um, so this one, even though I might talk for a few hours through it, it's just the one day, so it's a little easier on me. I promise as soon as I'm more confident with the chattering and what effects it might have on my throat irritation and everything, we will get back to doing some community tours. I know Siskwe's been itching for me to tour their place, and I promised I would at the best opportunity, but right now I think it's better to stick with the single plots for a little while. So yeah, we're on Entity. This is Dr. Christoph's plot. It is called the Exodus Enclave, and I kind of noted it down as being a Mordesh thing, a Mordesh theme, and I think you'll understand why as we get into this. You can tell that the landscaping, there is quite a bit going on, but it's more simple than some of the others that we've seen. You can still see the edges of the plot. There's not a lot going around as far as great amounts of like I don't even know what I'm trying to say. The mountainous areas, they've got some bits like the trees and some of the stones and stuff, but it's not completely bordered in like we see a lot of plots. For some reason, some of us tend to want to hide the fact that this is a floating island. Um, I think part of that is a lot of people don't like these mechanical bits that are sticking around. They think it detracts from their theme or how they want it to look. Others prefer to try and make it look like you're still on the face of the Nexus planet and just kind of not teleport you out, but like give you the feel that you're still in the game world, but not kinda. They've made it their own. Others embrace the fact that it's a big plot of land with some, uh, I don't know, machines holding it up kind of thing. This was kind of half and half. I get the feeling that they kind of want you to forget that it's up there in the sky, but they don't completely block it off. So around the edges, we have a little frozen lake here. Again, it's just the frozen water, and they've kind of inset it. We're on one of the Protostar Insta Hills. It's the one with the little divot in the center, sort of. Not quite a donut shape, but close. There is a couple, or maybe just one. Yeah, I think it's a couple. I think this is a fab kit, and this one as well. You can see it's even interactable for the little challenge that it offers. The frozen pond or ice pond or something like that. There are some of the Arcterra formations. That's these kind of aqua blue bits you see. There's some of the glaciers and icicle bits from, I think that comes directly from the vendor. But I kind of want to show what the building itself looks like. Because what they've done is they've taken a prefab home and they've just blinged it out. They've built around it and expanded it to their needs. I think the main building is directly underneath this little tower thing. But you can see they've used For the roofing, it looks to be the rain gutters and then some of the fencing to trim along the top. The exterior is a combination of exile woods and granite. And then the fencing that they use here, I believe it's the same part that's used here for that brick at the bottom to pretend it is the foundation of the building. Then again, it kind of looks like Oran walls, doesn't it? So it's one or the other. Now there are a few things kind of sticking out. They probably don't really want me coming and showing that, but it's some of the gadgets that are inside. They've got some of the brackets showing right there. If you don't want people seeing that stuff, it's probably pretty easy to cover it with, crates or some bushes or trees that would kind of hide it. Who knows if they just kind of forgot to tend to those or don't really care that they're sticking out. Leave it to me to go and point it out, though. Let's see. I guess I can get through this way without getting stuck. And the reason I'm coming this way is because I want to get up on top so you can see more of the roofing and stuff. You see there's hover part pieces. I think these are called the edge pieces, or I'm not really sure on that. Hey Poi, good morning. I tried fixing the MooBot thing. I don't know if it's in there. It looks like it is, so you should be able to use the commands this time. Not that you have to go crazy with them, but I just thought I'd mention it, that I did try and get that sorted. But yeah, you can see here's like the gear light again. Hover part pieces. The spikes are from the spiked coffin decor, which is kind of creepy, but it looks neat, and everything. And of course, there's some either exile tubing, or it's more of the what's it called, the hover park stuff with the windows and everything to make the towers. This one, I think it's one of the Elden Landings thingies. I'm not really sure on that. For this metal part underneath, I think I can get up high enough to get on top. There we go. Yeah, you can see it's hover part pieces. It's similar pieces put together, but just in a different order at times to make the towers a little different. They have a similar look, but it's changed up just enough to make it individualized, I guess. Again, I don't know what all parts they're using here, but just wanted to give you a better look. Man, I can't jump where the giant vent for whatever reason. Okay, back down here. Excuse me. Obviously, the hedging is from the cash shop. I think it's the winter version. I think they have like 3 seasons worth. The green version, the brown that's more like autumn colors, and then the wintry version. You see how they kind of stuffed the mailbox inside one of them. Just a reminder for those that like doing screenshots and stuff, if your character is facing um, an interactable, it may or may not light up. I think it depends on how close it is and what kind of item it is. But certainly don't mouse over it so that the green outline doesn't show up. If it does, for whatever reason, if your character is facing it um, and it lights up like this, even without mousing over it, again, just turn your character the other way and move your camera around and it'll close it off. It's really good for like candles and other lighting fixtures. Those tend to be the more problematic, especially in like a closed area, like a building, when you're trying to take a snapshot of a room and like there's chairs and candles and light fixtures and everything tries to light up when your character's facing it. It's pretty annoying. So just a tip on that. Okay, outside in front of the house proper, there's the fountain, of course. It's just that weeping fountain that everybody loves for like their Shades Eve themed plots. Um, and they've added the regular waterfalls. I think the water inside the dish part is actually winding rivers. And then topped it with some frozen bits like the overgrowth style icicles, the little spiky bits here, and then the frozen water to carry on with the theme that this is a winter style or themed seasoned plot. Phrase it. Using one of the hedges laying on its side to be the little podium for this topiary. Again, the topiaries are, I believe, a separate pack from the hedges themselves. I'm not sure on that. Can't remember if they come together or not, but they too come in the different colors. Whitish for winter, the green, and over here we have their little transportation system or spot. Apparently this is how they get to and fro. Now, it's called Exodus Enclave. I don't know exactly if it's meant to be like a full-on, like, I don't want to say academy type thing, but I do recall there being like classrooms and stuff in here, I think, if I remember rightly. We'll figure that out as we go, but I really don't know how to classify this, as if it's a personal residence thing and they just happen to have some lab works, or if it's an actual like supposed to be like a public facility that happens to have some living space as well. We're going to visit this part first. Now, again, most of it is just regular walls and the gutters for the roofing. You can see they've used a variety of different types of windows to light things up. They've got the awning here, just curved glass with the chains to make it look as if it's attached. Got a combination of the holographic shop signs and the Eldon screen thingy. And then these here are the metal dividers, I believe. Yeah, see, this looks more like a check-in desk or what do they call them? Concierge or something? Something like that. So again, I don't know if this is supposed to be kind of like a school or a resort or what. So pardon me if I'm getting, the feel of it wrong, but this seems like a reception desk of some kind. It's basically a combination of, it looks like the Charming bar, the Red Moon bar, and of course the medical med kit. So you take it as being, doesn't quite have a hospital feel to it, but it kind of has a lot of medical stuff. Again, notice the seat here, the couch, doesn't have any collision. So you can't actually use it. It doesn't even function as a seat. Others have gotten around it by inserting either glass or cushions, setting on it. Some have actually put some functional stools into it to make it functional. It's just one of those quirky things from the exotic decor set that the item itself looks really nifty, but it's just unfortunate that doesn't work properly. I don't know if they'll ever get around to fixing it. You would hope so, but you know, never can tell. Until that lantern really gives off a lot of light. So in here, it looks to me like a classroom. That's why I said I'm not sure if it's like a learning facility slash lab work slash medical ward or what. But you can see there's they're using the Red Moon stools. They got the metal tables and then all of the little notes. Blackboard looks to be just some travel posters smushed together. Now, I've seen a few people try to take in like chalkboard writing. There are a couple of things you could probably use that will work really good. I used the folded end of the kitchen towels. I think specifically the striped towel because the other one has a more orangey tint to it and it didn't quite look like white chalk to me. Not that you have to use white, but I wanted to play strongly to that to help it make it look like it was chalk. But I'm talking about for like the bakery when I had the signs for it with like the menu boards. I used the curved side, not the open side of it, but the rounded part. I used that for the lettering. Now I did try to use edges of like the snow blocks, but the size that I wanted them to be used was fairly small. And it's one of those things that it's one of those items that even if you're fairly close, like right about here, you wouldn't be able to see all of the letters from this distance. And I didn't really like that, especially when I was trying to make screenshots. So I ended up changing it to the towels. But I'm sure there are probably other things that you could use. Yes, you might have to worry about some things sticking out the back of it, but with it being up against this wall here, there's probably ways you could disguise that. If it's something that's like a little bit more out from the wall and you're worried about it, just add maybe more layers to thicken it up, and then you won't have that issue too much. That goes for like people that want to do like television screens as well, among other things. But I've used the curving part, edges of like the plates sometimes. Now with the color shifting, you might get away with more items than some of the things that I've used in the past for writing, for like chalk writing. Or if you want to get really high tech, you use like the neon signs. We've seen a lot of people use that and make it look like it's a digital screen rather than an actual old school chalkboard. Or just, you know, use like, where is that thing? Like for instance, using this television, but only pushing it out so you just see the screen that's floating here rather than the television itself, that kind of thing. Easily. Or even get away with using some of these instead of just having it blank. Just some thoughts on that. Again, they took use of several of the fab kits. This one is the garden one. They've got it walled off with glass, but we'll be entering it later through this door here. Let's stick downstairs, I guess, for now. You can see that some of the, guess what they call like the foundation pillars or such. They're using the frost pipes here. Thought I saw it somewhere else, but I guess I did. This little setting here shows off really nice that new Mordesh decor, which includes the couch or sofa, the table, the chairs, and the lamp. I think there's actually also a little smaller table. I'm not positive on that, but you can see they have a bit of a glow, a rhythmic pulsing glow. Most of the leggings resemble like syringes, and it's just got some weird digitally, almost looks like schematics of some sort going on. Pretty space agey looking. This looks weird with the tentacles coming out, but and decoration. Can't tell if this really gives off any good light though, so still nifty looking. For those of you that haven't seen that decor at natural state. If we go up here, enter the what I would call the lecture hall. They've got a bit of a drinking setup here. If you're wondering about these, that's some of those portable holograph thing. It's the really long one. A lot of people like to use it for like in space stations and stuff as like their decontamination units. They'll stick it in a small place where the people have to walk through and they're being sprayed down or whatever. Some of it use it in labs or prisons or other such to pretend like it's some kind of a barrier that's keeping you in or out. You can safely pass through it with your character, but it's it's the idea behind it. Thing. This part here, that's the graded floor panel that's joining the two staircases together. The cushions for the seats are those ice blocks, I believe. Graded floor panels. Most of the rest is, I think, hover part piece. Kind of hard to tell in the lighting here. Over here we have a clunky fire extinguisher being used as kind of like a display for these creepy eggs. It's also got another one of the portable holograph. It's the smaller one. A lot of people like use it for engine things to make it look like it's actually functioning. Some use it for like teleport pads of their own creation in combination with like the low grav pad to kind of make it look like people are using an elevator or something. For the little podium here, it's the same thing that they using for the towers outside. It's the spiky coffin, but then they've inserted one of the frost tubes and then added the notes and stuff on top. Others will use like the trophy cabinet. We've seen a few podiums that were constructed out of just 2x4s. Probably a big fave is the decking pieces, with that corner piece as being the top. Got a little bit of a ridge. It fits perfectly for like a book kind of thing. And it's not just for lecture halls, the podiums. Maybe it's for a place that has like where you have an announcer for different acts on a stage. They have a podium for that, or like a dress show. For churches, things like that. Again, this part here is the red moon bar, and you can see there's a lot of use of the red moon panels throughout. They've got the red moon lamp. I think this all comes as part of a kit, including the stools and stuff that you see throughout. Here we have part of the actual medical area. Here's another one of those This is the little side table I was mentioned earlier for that Mordesh decor kit. Most of this is pretty straightforward. The cabinetry here, I think, is the medical tables. Again, I know it sounds like a broken record, but for those that just are newer to the game or into housing itself in particular, there are two different kinds of medical tables listed in the housing vendor. One's like at 50 silver and the other one's like at 4 gold or something like. I don't know if that's specifically what they are, but the price range is pretty different. It's the exact same decor piece, so make sure you're checking out the cheaper version. There's a couple of other pieces that are the same way, so just kind of keep an eye on that. Everything here is pretty straightforward. They've added one of those colored panels to the ship hand locker to make it look like a actual, oh, some kind of a special med booth. These here are the Red Moon lights. It's like a long string of them together. Not string, long rectangular shape of it. You're just seeing it oversized and I think pretty straightforward stuff. Here's somebody's office. This is not a very commonly seen one. I think it comes from one of the decor packs. I want to say it's a Granok one, but I'm not for sure on that. But a lot of people like it because it's kind of like ripped and destroyed a little bit. Got a different framework than most, I think. Could be that's a combination of two things. Maybe I'm just looking at it differently, but there you go. Again, I think this is Charming Bar, and then they've just added some of that exotic decor, the tables, and then they've also embedded one of the holograph bits inside there. Maybe to resemble as if it's, you know, where they have the little miniature guys, the hologram peoples that come up and talk, that kind of thing. This appears to be where they make their medicines, I guess. All sorts of little herby bits. Notice here they've got the same trays along the wall and they've got it set here as well. And then they've added their own, it looks like. Or maybe these are the purple pod thingies and they've just added a few extra bits to kind of change it up a little. The tools is the hammer and the spade. Now the spade is a little tricky because it's one of those items that depends on how you turn it, it appears differently. And what I mean by that is right now it looks more like the shovel part, the spade part, because it's like flipped to the front. If you flip it over, this whole part in the middle kind of disappears and it looks more like a fork or a trident of something, you know, without the third tongue. It's like a lot of people like use it for their fondue sets or to just have a fancier looking fork for their table settings, that kind of thing. So be mindful of that depending on how you flip it. It's kind of like the treasure pile when it's sitting upright like it's supposed to. It looks like a mound of gold coins with, you know, vases and stuff all stuck in it. If you flip it over, the gold coins disappear and it's just vases. It's really freaky looking, but it's just kind of a quirky thing. Some items have that quirk and others don't. Just be mindful of that when you're messing with it. This is the entrance to the garden fab kit that we saw earlier. They've added in a few things, especially right here with the bushes and plants and stuff. for the most part, I think the kit itself is come as is. Okay, I think that's all of the rooms there. Let's go upstairs. And lots of use of the exotic decor with all the dividers here and there. These bits here, the wire fencing look, including this on the floor. I believe that's the bits from Arctera Zone. It comes very early on in the, you know, how you have different zones and each one has like their own reputation vendors. This one in particular, I think you just have to be friendly with that particular faction to unlock this particular decor. So it's not that tough. You just have to actually get up a high enough level to be able to access that zone. This here, probably the most notable is the guitar. And I'm going to try and see if we can figure out what all is being used for this. It looks like hover part pieces for like the little peanut shape. I think the end piece is one of those windows like we saw on the outside, the keyhole windows, the dark version. There's chains for the strings. It looks like there's some of the soul frost bits, the gear lights, and probably some 2x4s for the neck. Kind of hard to get up close because they have it encased in glass and the camera just won't let you really get too close to see the details. But for those of you that really like to play around with instruments for like setting up a bar band or you know, just have, you know, some hanging on the wall or something, this is probably one of the better ones. We've seen a few others, but this is probably a really good example of a makeshift bar instrument, whatever you want to call it. A little upper view of the garden. Now, I will note that the library, they've taken the time to fill in the shelves themselves. This is the empty Dominion shelves. Now, we do have bookshelves that are pre-filled, and I've gone through the trouble myself of like if I line a bunch of walls up with that, since they're so repetitive, I'll add in extra things or cover up some of the books with boxes or something just to kind of break the monotony. But this one, this builder chose to actually fill the bookshelves with their own books. So each one of these is individually placed inside. So it's not like it comes this way. They've actually taken the time and the decor count to fill it up themselves. So that's where, again, details like that really go a long way. It's just a matter of the builder deciding, is it worth filling it up with individual books and pieces to make it look like it's being used in that way, or is it better to use the prefabbed ones and then just kind of play around with it a little bit. Here we have a little bit of a lounge area. Nothing too particularly noteworthy, I don't think. Then we get into these like little individual, it's like little bunks, pots, and the curtains. Very crammed. Another set. Again, some, especially in like spaceports or spaceships, you can get away more with having it look like cookie cutter. It's the exact same setup every single time. But it's these other details, the plants or the arrangement of the books or the lamps or whatever, that help individualize each space. Not everybody does that. Some copies it item for item and leave it at that. I see that a lot in like places where they're doing like motel rooms or you know, like an innkeeper type of thing. Others go through the trouble of giving them each room a theme, like they'll make an Orin room or a Chua room or a Mordish room. You know, they kind of make it like that. Or sometimes they'll do like this. It's similar, but a lot of the like little details on the tables and stuff are different. And that helps kind of, again, break up the monotony of it. It's not that the monotony is a bad thing. For some areas it works well. Others, it's nicer that it's not the same. So here we have a shower slash bathroom area. I don't know if this is meant to be, I guess this is the toilet. Basically, they've just got an upside down utility crate, and then they slapped in a Dominion chair to make it look like the toilet. Pretty just out there. I think I would have preferred one side so they can, you know, kind of get some privacy there. Excuse me. Moving on. Another little bedroom. Again, it's different little details here and there. And the final little bunkhouse space. Here we have more lounge area with the bar. And I think that's it for this building. Again, for the construction of it, you can see they've used a lot of different materials. There's hover part pieces, there's Cassian floors, Granite style, there's Exile style, there's archways, some of the metal dividers for some of it, there's actual glass windows. And like most of the rooms I don't think have a window to the outside, but yeah, it's kind of blocked off here. Panel. But there you go. So that's one building down. And then we head off into the main one. Now again, this is the prefab home that they've kind of blinged out with the windows and the wood and lamps and stuff. The doorway here is again those portable holograph bits. This part here I think is the Blue Light Lounge drinking table. It's not the oblong one, but the round one. I think it comes from either a dungeon or some kind of PvP related thingy, because it's something I never really got a hold of unless it was on the, well, no, I think it's a bind on pickup item actually. So it's not all that common. Now the archway here is stone. I believe that's part of the prefab home. I think this is a Granite version house. I'm not positive on that though, so don't quote me on it. But it has like that barrel door looking thing, if you can kind of see the wood of it. Why it seems that way to me. Now, if I got close, it looks like I can mouse over it and get it to activate, or if I just step back, the door thing will pop open and I can go inside that way. The carpet here is part of that exotic decor wall hanging, I believe. Got another one of those fountains in here. This time they're using the waterfalls just straight up for all of it. Maybe that's what they did for the original one as well. The other one, not original. Over here, it's just the crowded graves. And then for the lighting, it's some of those scary eyes, spooky eyes. Not sure what it's called now. Here's that urinal decor. I think it's called an alcove or something. They've got a screen inset with it, and then also a technophage tube. There's like spiked coffin again. Got a lot of different little combinations going on to kind of just change up things a little bit. And here we have the kitchen, and it's usually one of my favorite spaces in these custom houses. If you're wondering about the little spring plants, those come from, I think it's the spring decor pack. Comes with vines and I think some fencing and a lot of spring flowers, and it includes these 3 potted plants. The bar, let's see, there's the Chua pillars, there's the graded shelf, there's 2x4s, some of those wooden crates. There's even some sulfrost tubing underneath. And I think part of it is hover park pieces. Then you've got for the countertop itself, for the tiling or whatever, it's granite style floors, I believe. The kitchen sink, of course, comes from the Boxing Gym Fab Kit. If you can complete the challenge in its entirety, I think you get a chance at. I'm not sure it's a guaranteed drop at the end, but I'm confident to say it's a chance drop. It's also the place where you get the kitchen towels, both the striped version and the flop towel, the one with the carrot on one side and the bunny on the other side. Flop, big bunny. That one, for the towels though, you only have to make it past the 4th opponent, I think, and you can repeatedly do that. Sounds like a cheat, but basically what you do is if you can beat out the 4th opponent, get your towel reward, like a 50-50 on which version you get, and if you walk away far enough from the Fab Kit, it will fail the challenge, and then you can just go back and restart it and do it again. So if you're really looking for a lot of towels for like your bathroom or kitchen, or if you just need the fabrics to kind of make a tablecloth around the edge or something, or you're looking to make a fancy dress, or who knows what you want the towels for. But if you need a bunch of them, that's the way to kind of farm them, is go find somebody with the Boxing Gym Fab Kit, defeat the 4th opponent, and just fail it, and then go back again and just, you know, rinse and repeat kind of thing. It's long and drawn out. I don't like the controls for the challenge. I never have been able to complete the thing, so I don't have a kitchen item from it, but you know, if you're good at it, then more power to you. But that's where that comes from. The shelving here, I like this little setup. It looks very nice, organized, but you know, it's a lot of difference as far as what's being set on the things, and I like how they've placed the hanging utensils and pans and stuff underneath it. It looks almost like an artistic display, but it's, you know, functional for the kitchen. Over here they got both sets of the different types of stoves, and then they've inset one of the bubbling cauldrons. I don't know if it's the Witch's Brew one or the Skeech one, but it's probably noisy as well. Again, notice the smoke, it travels all the way through. If this had a second level, uh, like a prefab, not prefab, if it's custom, be aware that if you have one of these that has the smoke trail, it will permeate all the way through. So if you're wanting to hide it, either put another type of like a fireplace or something there so that it blends in, or just find a way to kind of cover it up if you don't want that bleeding through the entire house. Again, these cabinets are those wooden crates, the long blondish one, um, using it as the cabinet doors, which is kind of clever because it has those little handles already built in. Another kitchen sink. So either they got lucky on the auction house or they're really good at that challenge, which makes me jealous. For the lighting here, it's a trick of the eye for the most part. It looks like they've actually included some actual light. I don't know if it's coming from the heart lamp itself or if they've added some in, but this is kind of an illusion kind of thing because the dividers don't actually have lighting, but it looks bright enough where it kind of tricks the eye as if it does, which is kind of funny. There you go. Over here they have a microwave, their version of it. We've seen a few different ones. Some actually have it where you can see inside. Others will leave it like this. It's basically just travel posters. They've got this lever switch with it flipped so you just see the bottom part. Some will use an actual control pad. I've seen some use like parts of the ergonomics keyboard, or they'll just use one of the control panels kind of things. There's a variety of ways you can do it. This one just happens to use the lever. And then for the window part where the door is, it's just the tablet computer. The refrigerator, again, we've seen a lot of varieties. This one's using the mattresses as the refrigerator part. And then Merg Dynamite for the handles. That's the kitchen. For the stairway here, I think it's a combination of 2x4s and those red moon lights. Again, I don't think the lights actually give off too much actual light. It's one of those items where it says it's a light, it doesn't really behave as such. And others, like the spotlights and stuff for this lamp, they just go overboard with the lighting. The staircases, 2x4s, you can see how multiple boards are being used to fashion this nice curved stairwell, including the bottom part here. It's a really lovely double curved stairway. Here we have a library slash office space, I guess, desk kind of thing. Again, these are all individually placed items, things that they've chosen to show off or to showcase. The desk itself is just a bunch of panels, the med table, a lot of different little medical doodads. Maintenance platform for the base. Again, they like showing off their travel posters. The little couch setup here, sectional, whatever you want to call it, nicely done. It's a little different. I've never seen one using the Protostar windows in this way. But it, again, I don't think they really give off any light, but it just has that illusion that it's lit up, so kind of an interesting use. Hover part piece for the backing, I think, and then they just boxed it in with the windows, and then of course topped it with the pillows for the note the chandelier up above. It's something I've done in the past and several others have as well. using the nautical wheel, chains, and then lots of candles. Dress it up. The fireplace is a combination of Draken floors, the Chua pillars, windows, and then the small campfire. And lots of candles on the mantle. Pretty simple design compared to some of the others we've seen, but it fits this particular setting really well. There's our pillars. Notice the spacing in between. Very uniform, but narrow enough that your character doesn't fall through. I've seen some try to leave the gaps a little too big, and it's kind of awkward. For this little, what looks to be like a wall safe or an extra door, that's just the ornate chest. A lot of people like it because of the metal handle here. Here we have a playroom. They've got their little dance revolution thing, or whatever it's called, up. The floor panel itself is a combination of one giant granite floor piece, and they've topped it with some of the color panels, and then on top of those they have the golden arrows for the directional bits. For the arrows up on the screen, those are the neon sign, the one with the octopus. If you flip it one way, the octopus shows. It's this one here. If I was to push that in a little bit further, you just see the green octopus and not. It's like just above each other, and so depending on how you position it and twist it, one or the other can show, and they've chosen the arrows to show. For these parts, honestly, I'm not really sure what they're using for all of this. I don't know if that comes on the screen already. I can't remember. And then behind that is one of those, the rectangular blue light lounge table, the one you get from some of the bosses and stuff in Farside, I think. For the little game thingy here, it looks to be travel posters, and then for this part here, I think that's the neon sign, the beer star one. It's just the edge of that. I'm not sure what they're using here. The number of items that could work though, so can't find the exact one. I'm sure you can find something that'll work and place it. I feel like my throat's starting to crack up. Moving on. Another loungy area. This here, the panel here, that's the top of the Macari table, I think. I don't know if it's Macari tactical table or something like that, but it's one of the newer pieces. Kind of mesmerizing to watch the animation, that's for sure. Again, another little lounge. Again, I don't know what they're using for some of that to make it pop out like that, but yeah. Pretty straightforward on the items, I think. Here we are in the bathroom. The double sink is basically, I believe it's a kitchen sink, and then they've boxed it in with Cassian and granite style flooring and archways. The towel holders are just pillars, and then these are the towels that you get from that same challenge that we were talking about earlier. These are the striped version. Then they added a big window and then topped it with the portable holograph. Toilet is a little different, just a bowl with a plate on top. And then this part is, I think it's called the locked chest, or maybe locked exile chest. It's one of the two. It's got like blue on the top, I think. Some go through the trouble of actually adding piping and stuff. It's not really necessary. For me, especially if I'm like really tight on decor count, the fewer items you can get away with uh, is always my preferred approach. But sometimes, you know, you just can't help yourself. You got to add in like lots of super details, but you got to pick and choose where you place that. Now the tub is actually an oversized sink. You can see the bathroom sink. There's the faucet for it. Then they added in a waterfall to make it have some water in it. And then Chua cups for the handles. It's the bottoms of them. And this here, the vase, that's actually, there's a table underneath it. They've just hidden the table inside. And then another one of the striped towels there. Okay, I think that's it for art. Sure, I get all of it. And golden arrows, I think they've toned them down with some recoloring, probably black and white version to cut down a bit. And there you go. I think that was all of the interior for this particular building. Again, this has more of a residential, like personal residence feel to it, as opposed to the other building that seemed more like a mini college of some sort, medical thing. But again, uh, I think it's smart to use like a prefab home and then remodel it to your own tastes, and we've seen that in a lot of examples in past tours where they've turned a simple home into like a grand mansion of varying styles. We've seen some um, Cassian versions. We've seen some others look more like Frankenstein's house kind of thing. But this one is certainly different. That's why I say it reminds me mostly Mordash. It's probably the coloring and a lot of the decorations inside. And obviously this looks like a medical place for Mordash to come in and get treated, that kind of thing. So yeah, that is that, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed the tour. I know it's kind of a short one, but I think it's good that we keep it that way. Last week we went for a little over 2 hours, and my throat was killing me at the end, and it's already starting to get a little dry and scratchy, so probably a good time to close it up. But yeah, I thought it was a great way to show how you can incorporate not only fab kits, but specifically a prefab home into a build like this and make it look like something totally different than what you start out with. I think that's, again, a draw for those that like to express their creativity and maybe aren't particularly happy with the limited styles of houses that we have. If they can find an interior shape that they like whether it's a rounded interior or the big block interior or whatever, depending on if it's spacious or cozy or whatever. If they can find a way to divvy up that interior space and make it work for whatever setup that they're using, then they can make the exterior absolutely anything they want. Some have turned them into ships, some have turned them into mansions or things like this. It's just, I can't say often enough how um, freely you can do these things and have them come out, maybe not exactly like you envision, but pretty close. You're just limited by your imagination, really. Yes, I know there's decor limits and stuff, but that's part of the challenge. You got to recall in the beginning we were limited to like um, uh, 300 decor total, and that was pretty daunting. Or it seems pretty daunting now, considering how much leeway we have in comparison with the 2500 in and 2500 out. I just it it's it's flabbergasting to imagine the old limits and what we were able to do even in that, you know, major restriction. So when people complain about the 2500 in and out kind of thing, yes, I get that people want more flexibility, more decor count to play with, because they enjoy being able to add even more detail than they already have. And I myself would love to have that addition, but I appreciate that we've come a long way from where we were in the original setup. Um, but I think there's enough leeway currently that really you can just go nuts with it. As far as, we've seen people make pirate ships and disco bars and clubhouses and guild houses and arenas, and some that actually, resemble other games for their themes. Some actually, we've seen coliseums and museum type builds. Some with like things that resemble real life buildings and such, like the Notre Dame kind of thing, cathedrals. Others have to do with movies and books that we've watched and read, cartoons from the past. We've seen stuff that related to like the Thundercats and Batman's cave and who knows what else. And so really just if you can dream about it, you can think it up. There's ways of getting it pretty close to what you want it. You just have to be patient with either, saving up the money to afford the items that you need or want, but also just being able to collect everything. Some things you have to grind up and collect over a long period of time. Keep in mind, a lot of the builds that we visit have taken, months or even years to get to the point where they are. I hesitate to say that they're completed because every time something new comes out or they think of some other way to fix something, um, maybe have a inspired way of doing the fountains rather than doing them like they've got. Maybe they figure out another way to do it. There's always room for an evolution of the plot. People will modify it, um, uh, tinker with it, change it up a little bit. Some will actually just completely wipe the whole thing clean and start from scratch, but others like to remodel here and there or add new pieces. Maybe they have some prefab chairs and decide to make their own custom version later, that kind of thing. So yeah, uh, again, I've said it in the past and I'll say it again. Housing is like not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's an investment of time, um, and flat, of course. It's not a cheap hobby, but if you take your time with it, if you don't expect it to be an overnight thing, then you'll have the right frame of mind going into it. Yes, we do have a few builders that as soon as they got started, they were creating masterpieces out the wazoo. I think Aurora is one that comes to mind in that regard. But most of us, I think, have just grown into it. We've practiced it a lot, done a lot of trial and error kind of thing. You build something, oh, that doesn't work. Try something else, and nope, that doesn't work either. Try something else, and finally we get something that works like we want. Before we didn't have water decor, so we had to fake it with a lot of different other things, and there was a lot of different ways of approaching it. Some, prefer those items even to the real water. Some can't afford some of the waterworks, like the newer waterfalls. That's a cash shop item. Um, so there's still things that you have to kind of fake in here and there, but for a good many of us, that's part of the fun of it, is coming up with different ways to create the same effects or better effects or similar effects. It's just, again, we've seen people build multiples of variety of toilets or vehicles or even the housing structures. And every single time, there's always something new, something different. And that's what I love about this type of housing. So, yeah, make it till you fake it. But yeah, it's one of those things that I absolutely love about this system. I know there are other games with also their own version of housing, but I haven't really come across any that's as flexible. Probably the closest, I guess, would maybe be Rift, um, but even it has its quirks and such. Um, that I don't like the particular art style of that game, so I didn't really get into it as much per se. But I've seen enough examples that I can say they do the cobbling of many different pieces to make a new piece as well. But yeah, if you like that part of it, you would definitely love this part of WildStar as well. The customization is just off the charts. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the tour. Again, apologies for the short tour. I'm pretty sure we covered everything. If we didn't, my sincere apologies to the builder, but hopefully we covered it all. Um, we will be back next week on Jabbit. I'm going to say tentatively it'll probably be a single plot again, but again, it just depends on how I'm feeling, on whether or not we go with the community plot instead. But in the meantime, if you know of a plot, whether it's community or an individual plot that hasn't been toured yet, um, then by all means pass along the name and the region, and I will add it to the queue. Um, my queue is pretty messed up right now because I still have like old lists and newer lists, and they're not like completely combined. I've got some on the individual plot where they're actually part of a community plot now, so I got to update all of that. Um, but if you want to pass along any names, feel free to do it. It doesn't matter if it's yours, if it's a friend's, if it's the guildmates, something that you just passed, you know, on your random visiting. It doesn't matter as long as you know that we haven't toured them before. Happy to have them on the list. Now, if I have toured them in the past, but the plot has changed dramatically enough, maybe they've remodeled considerably, or they just cleared it all out and did a different type of theme, I'm happy to retour as well. It's not like once your plot's toured, that's it for life kind of thing. I just want to make sure it's new material, new stuff that we haven't seen. So just keep that in mind. Um, Again, I know that for a lot of builders, they would probably prefer to be available to kind of point out things. Um, I tried that in the past. It's not exactly easy because my hours are pretty off for most people. Um, and so it makes it very difficult to arrange a good time. In fact, I've got a few people that um, try to work with that, but it's hit and miss when it comes to trying to get them into the show at the same time that I'm actually streaming. Some will give me tours off the stream. That way I have a better idea of what's going on when I actually go to stream it live. That's possible as well, but again, it's one of those scheduling things that's difficult to pull off. Um, if I tour your place and you were unable to like meet up with me or whatever, And maybe there were some things that I either said wrong, maybe I misidentified something, or we just kind of left it as we're not sure what that is, or maybe there's a little hidden spot that I missed. Feel free to drop comments on the videos themselves. They're always uploaded to YouTube after the stream. So it's there for whoever wants to look at it and comment on it. I've had a few of them, folks do that in the past. It was very helpful, especially to those that might view the video later and see the notes and kind of say, oh, that's some actual extra information that was useful. So feel free to do that. I more than likely won't do an extra tour just to mention those things. There have been a few where I've actually missed like an interior part, like I couldn't find the entrance to a bunker house or something, and I've actually toured that part later, but that's not the typical setup. So just remember, if ever there's something that's missing and you feel it really needs to be mentioned, there are the comment section on the YouTube videos that you can include that. I don't know if you can do that on the Twitch version of the highlight stuff. I'm not sure. I would imagine you can leave comments there too, but I think most people go after the YouTube versions to do that. So just a note on that. Again, final reminder, we do have the residential renovation for this month still ongoing. There's a couple of days left on that. And then June, of course, is the month-long Starfall event. Be sure to check out the little blurb on that in the general discussion. It's a pinned topic right up at the top. It will give you the layout of which items come at which week. So be sure to get involved in that. So until then, I hope you guys have a great week/weekend, and hope you have good fun with whatever projects you're currently working on. And until then, have a great day. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.